When Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of King Herod, behold, Magi from the east arrived in Jerusalem, saying, "Where is the newborn King of the Jews? We saw his star at its rising, and have come to do him homage." When King Herod heard of this, he was greatly troubled, and all of Jerusalem with him. Assembling all the chief priests and the scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. They said to him, "In Bethlehem of Judea. For thus it has been written through the prophet, and you, Bethlehem, land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. Since from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people of Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly, and ascertained from them the time of the star's appearance. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go, search diligently for the child. When you have found him, bring me word that I too may pay him homage." After their audience with the king, they set out. And behold, the star that they had seen at its rising preceded them, until it came and stopped over the place where the child was. They were overjoyed at seeing the star, and on entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother. They prostrated themselves and did him homage. Then they opened their treasures and offered him gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed for their country by another way. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Good morning again. One of the realities, I think, of Christianity, and it hasn't been maybe presented this way throughout the centuries, but as I get older and maybe the more I try to grow internally in my own spiritual life, what I've come to the realization of in Christianity is that it is such a complete picture of happiness and stability. It's really a very happy and psychologically healthy religion if it is presented and practiced in its entirety. So it's not focused on any one particular element, be it fear, be it guilt, be it just resurrection, be it just death. But if we take the combined experience of Jesus and the combined and total message of Christianity, we can find a lot of happiness in our own personal lives, in our relationship lives, and in the life of our church. Today, we have the three wise men that really bring some wise gifts into the stable. And those gifts, I think, give us a pretty good indication of what a stable life, if you will, is really all about. And what stable happiness is comprised of. It's comprised of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Those three elements can, if put together, can allow us a happy life, a stable life, a completely fulfilled life. Gold is a symbol of material wealth, right? And in our own lives, individually, relationally, as a church, we need gold, right? We need money to exist, but we also need all the other material trappings, let's say, the material necessities of life. That's an important component to our faith, our Christianity, and our happiness. As God became man, he connected himself to the material, to humanity. And so, elements like an education for our young people that are here today. Your education is very important. Those types of realities of life are key. A job, a career, that type of connection to our earthly existence, to materiality, is important for our happiness. If we need medication to stay stable in our lives, we need to stay on that medication. If we have a relationship that has gone askew and we find that we're not communicating with our spouse properly, we may need counseling. That's part of the material human existence. And if we don't have that, we're lacking something in life. If we don't have enough, if we don't pay attention to those basic things, to follow our talents, to have a hobby, to use our skills, all those material elements, the talents that we have, be it musical, the talents we have at games, the talents that we have building, the talents that we have just as human beings, are an important part of our happiness. But it's not all there is, because there are three components. It's not just gold, frankincense, and myrrh. If we just had the gold, we just had the human part, would we be happy? No. I know my personal experience, that was a journey that eventually brought me here, was exactly that. After I had left the priesthood, I entered into a world of corporate insurance sales. And to make a long story short, I obviously focused on that and became a born-again capitalist, so to speak, focusing on nothing but success in my career. And I remember my very first year, I began working in May, and I received my territory in September. And between September and the end of the year, I finished 9th in the country in sales in one quarter. And then the next year was 7th, the next year was 5th in the country in sales, and the next year was 3rd, never got higher than 3, but 3rd in the country in sales. So after a few years, you know, there's a lot of trappings that come with that. There's a lot of recognition that comes with that. You know, people in New York in the home office knew who I was. You know, after just a couple of years in the business, the whole nation knows who you are. And yet by the 3rd or 4th year, I was feeling really I had this feeling of, so this is all there is? The big deal, right? Okay, you have a good paycheck, everybody knows you, you've got success in your career, and this born-again capitalism dwindled pretty quickly. Why? Because I didn't have enough frankincense and myrrh in my life. Okay? It was just the gold. And it was actually that moment when I realized that, oh, is this all there is? There's got to be something more to life, that I eventually ended up getting involved in a non-denominational wedding ministry to work with couples in celebrating their marriages, non-denominationally. And when Father Brian heard I was doing that, he gave me a call and said, I hear that you're validly ordained, I hear that you're performing weddings, how about helping us out at Good Shepherd Church? And that's how it all began. But the first movement that I took was that realization that gold isn't all what it's cracked up to be. And there's something more important in life. And what the wise men are saying here is, we have to add some frankincense and some myrrh. So what's frankincense? Well, frankincense was used in the temple. It was a priestly function to offer incense as a symbol of our prayers and our lives moving up to God, okay, as incense does. And it's a very sweet smelling experience, and it's a temple priestly function, so it's a very good symbol of the sacred. A very good symbol of the sacred. So not only do we need to be in touch with the material in our lives and to take care of those natural human needs that we have, but also it's the frankincense part of our lives that give meaning to all the materiality. When people have made money, people have lost money, is it necessarily going to make you happy? No. But if there's meaning in your life, if you're connected to something beyond what is here, if there's purpose behind your life, then your life becomes a little bit more complete. And so that's where the frankincense, as symbol of the sacred, comes in as an important element to a stable life. It's not just what's here, it's not just the physical, but we are really connected by something deeper than the physical. We're connected by our faith. We're connected by our relationship to God as a church, even in our own personal relationships. Be it church, be it one-on-one with our spouses, our loved ones. There is meaning that has to be there. Something deeper than just two people walking through life, handling the materialities of life. There's something a little deeper. There's a connection. I love this person. I trust this person. I find meaning in my life. I find purpose in my life because of my connection to something greater than the material. And so we have that need for the frankincense elements in our life. You can talk to Father Jack. I'm sure he will say, even in AA, you can go through all 12 steps in AA and go through the process and go to all the meetings, but if there isn't a spiritual connection, it doesn't work. Am I right? It doesn't work. That all the gold in the world, all the right things we do, all the functionalities and timelines and goals, all that doesn't work in AA if we don't have a relationship with a divine presence, with a power greater than ourselves, with a God, with our Creator, with our God. And so how important that frankincense dimension of our lives is so critical. And that's why we're here today, too, to celebrate that. And is that all there is, then? Let's say we only did that. We only focused on the frankincense part of life. Is that going to make us happy? We sat in a corner and prayed all day. Huh? What happens if we do that? We lose the connection with other people. Okay? It's not about a concept of religion. Happiness doesn't have to do with just sitting, praying, being meditative, being very, quote, spiritual or pious. But that should help us connect with the material side of life better, so that we have both combined now. We have a relationship that truly is connective. And so all gold doesn't work. All frankincense doesn't work either. If all we did is go to church and go home and sit in our rooms and pray all day long, we would be very lonely people, disconnected to other human beings. So we need both. And the third element, there's never enough myrrh around when you need it. Have you found that out? Myrrh is a strange component because myrrh is used in burials. Right? In the Eastern, early Eastern religious practices, myrrh was used as a type of preservative. It was used during funerals. It was used as part of the burial rite. Well, myrrh is a great symbol of death. It's a symbol of death. The greatest death, of course, is the final leaving of this world and moving on to the next life. But in preparation for that great step of death, there is the little deaths, the little myrrh experiences that we have in our lives, and we call that surrender. It's the little dyings that we have, the little letting goes, the little surrenderings in our relationships that really give the energy to good growth and a lot of happiness. It's the letting go, the surrendering, the death to our egos. So it's not all about having it my way on my timeline and doing it for all me and my satisfaction. But it's letting other people's needs come into our lives and being focused a little bit upon that and allowing people to enter into our lives. It's a surrendering to, many times simple as surrendering to the present. How much unhappiness have we all felt when we're not living in the present? When we don't surrender to the here and now. If we have a lot of depression in our lives, if we go through the what ifs or what happened back then, this isn't going to work and everything is lousy. I tried this before and it couldn't work. That's living in the past. And depression is living in the past and not letting go of those past hurts, those past disappointments. If we live in the future, that's what gives us the anxiety. Oh my God, if I do this, this could happen, and we got to prepare for this, and oh, we're not ready for this, and we have to always look and live in the future. If that's all we do, then we're going to have this tremendous anxiety about what's going to happen next. But if we surrender the past and we let go of the future, That's the only way we can truly live in the present moment, and that's where happiness takes place. It doesn't take place in a past life or past experiences. It doesn't take place in the future. Our happiness takes place in the present moments. And that is probably the hardest gift to accept. The wise man says, accept the present moment, live in the now, because that's where we touch our divinity, that's where we touch our humanity, that's where we experience it all. So the gold experiences, the frankincense dimensions of life, and the myrrh, the surrenderings, the letting goes of life, truly can allow us a stable happiness, a stable spirituality, a stable and wonderfully peaceful experience of our faith, of our divinity, and of our humanity. It is no coincidence that what we are going to celebrate right now is made up of bread and wine, simple material gifts, which become sacred in the Eucharistic prayer, and we celebrate this total surrender and death of our Savior. All three elements will be present in what we are about to pray and experience in the coming moment.